Hello, next part of it, I'm going to continue making the engine mounts. So I'm going to have to do this out of 3 pieces because it's not quite wide enough. And then chop the other end off this. I know it's sacrilege to cut these bits off to use as engine mounts, but this was a drum brake rear arm off a 5-stud compact, the 316. I've converted it all to disc brakes now. And also, I might sort of, in the future, get round to converting this to disc brakes and rose jointing it, just so there's more adjustment for camber and caster to get the geometry sorted out a bit better. But that's in the future. So if I did convert it to rose joints, I would have to cut the ends off anyway. They're getting harder to get hold of, these rear arms, but I do need to get the engine mount sorted out. So job today is make the engine mount that goes under the exhaust manifold and get the engine secured in place. It's getting there. It's all taking a bit longer than I was expecting it to. I'm just doing finalising the little bits and pieces before I can turn the engine over. I've just swapped over the clutch slave cylinder because the original one, well, the one that came with the engine, yeah, it's been modified. And I never like using them once they've had the rods welded, unless the rods come right out, because I always feel that the seals could be damaged from the heat from the welder. So this is the one out of an E30. Hopefully that'll be fine. I've got a new one somewhere, but like the ECU, can't really find it at the moment. I've been going through the wiring just to sort out which wires I need from the E36 to go into the E30, and I only need one from what I've worked out, which is the ignition feed, which is number 21 on the diagram. 21 being a green, big green wire. So I've just got to put a power to that. I've got the oil pressure lights will go directly to the dash, because the dash is all different, it hasn't got the cluster that you normally get, and the feed for the alternator lights, that's already got the wiring was already there coming from the dash, so I've wired them up separately. Otherwise I'd have to wire them into the connector block, but there is no connector block on here to connect the engine into, so that's why I needed to find out which lead I needed, which wire I needed to power up. And the loom has its own power feed as well, so I'll just supply power to that. The wiring was pretty bad on this car, but I'm trying to make my way through it at the moment. The exhaust manifold is on. I've still got to do the exhaust system. I've put the header tank on for the radiator, so that's got a small pipe that connects to the top of the rad, and there's another pipe that runs around the back of the engine and joins into that one I left on the plastic bracket. The top one, this is a water temp gauge out of an M42, I think it is. So I've only put that in to block the hole whilst I've been bleeding the system. I want to turn it, I just wanted to make check the starter motor works all right, because that's a starter motor I got off an engine, I didn't know if it ran. So I wanted to put water in the engine, and antifreeze. I'll take the plugs out, check the starter works. I've just done an earth cable, which I've done with a bit of the red power feed that was left over from the that I've taken off the other wiring from this car. It should be black, but it's just to check, just temporary, to check that it turns over, and I'll put some tape around it or something. I must remember to take the cloth out of the inlet before I try turning it over, because that bends valves. I've been down there before with leaving blue paper in. It gets sucked in, gets stuck under the valves, and then the piston will bend the valve. So I don't particularly want to be doing that, but not far off at the moment. I'm going to put the clutch slave cylinder in, check that the clutch is working okay, and then try the starter motor, make sure that works off the button that's on the dash, and then if that's all working okay, I can put the inlet manifolds in. I've ordered the bits for the throttle bodies. I had to get some egg cup holders and some exhaust tube, but I'll explain why later on when I get around to doing that. I just want to make sure the engine still works. It must be about 5 years since I last used it, and it has been sitting. It's been moved around from place to place, but and that's why it shouldn't work. I think, oh, the ECU, can't find it. It's amongst my stuff somewhere. I had an ECU converted, so I didn't have to do the EWS, which is the immobiliser system, and also the ECU gets confused because there's no ABS, and it puts on a limpo mode, which is, it won't rev past 5,500. So I've sent the ECU that came out of the green 318 Ti which had an m44 in it as well. I've sent that to Entune. Now, a guy called Ender Ward, who runs Entune, he plugs it in. He's going to get rid of the auto map that's on it, put a standard map on it, get rid of the EWS and the ABS. So hopefully that'll be back before too long, because I'm trying to get everything done, so it'll just be plug the ECU in and hopefully fire it up. So it gives me time to get the exhaust sorted out and the inlet manifold. So we're moving forward. We're not too far away now. We're having a bit of a nightmare at the moment. I've had the starter motor in, wired it up, and tried starting the engine, but it's just clicking. So I thought it was obviously a bad starter. So I got another starter motor, tried that, did the same. No, they weren't clicking. They were whirring round, but not actually turning the engine over. So I've put the bar on the engine and the plugs are out. Turns over quite free. Put the starter motor back in again. Just whirring, making lots of noise. So I've got 3 starters I've tried so far. I'm pretty sure it's an E30 flywheel in there. And I know the E30 and E36 have different teeth on the flywheel. That's an E30 flywheel there. So these 2 are E30 starters, and that one's an E36. So what I've done, I think I fiddled about with it and did bits and pieces and tried starting it, and it was just clicking then. So it looks like the gears weren't engaging. It looked like, what happens with the starter motor, you already know this, but there's 2 connections on the back. Well, there's 3. There's 3 on some. So we've got the main power feed that comes directly from the battery, then goes to the alternator, and this is from the ignition. So when you put a feed through this, it does an electric magnet, which in turn pushes this gear forwards, and then it rotates it. So that's what turns the flywheel round. There's another connector on the other side, but that just goes to relays to cut power to certain things, to put more energy into the starter motor. So what I've done is I've wired this starter motor up, so it's just got, hasn't got the main feed going to it. It's, I'm just going to touch the jump lead with that. So that's just throwing the gear forward. It does smell funny, that starter. So the idea is I'm going to leave it like that, and whilst it's forward, I'm going to try fitting it in the engine and see if it hits anything, or if it stops it from going in, or if it won't go in. The flywheel in the engine was out of my rally car, which it was in the M42. So I know it works. That's ZF. Is it ZF gearbox? Anyway, it's a 328i E36 gearbox, which is what I had on my compact as well, with the M42 engine and an E30 starter, and it all worked fine. So I can't see how it doesn't line up. I can't see all 3 starters being bad. Apparently an E36 starter will work, but it makes horrible noises because the teeth don't mesh properly. So I've tried that just in case, but it wasn't having it. There's a locating dowel here that the starter motor connects onto, and 2 bolts. And plus, this is called a starter plate, the sandwich bit that goes between the 2. And that puts the starter, you can't put it in the wrong place, it can only go in one place. So I can't see the starters in the wrong place. The flywheel works. Unless I've done something really stupid, like put it, yes, there's no way I could put it on the wrong way around. I mean, it's all pretty basic stuff. I just don't understand why it's not meshing, unless I have got 3 bad starters. But I can't see that happening. And I've charged the batteries up. I've jumped 2 batteries onto it, so to make sure there's enough power going through. I have got almost a brand new starter, but who knows where that is. I've spent about an hour trying to find it. So, and these work fine, these starters, when you try them on the floor with the battery going around. So even if it turned the engine over really slowly, that would be better than just going bang. So I'm gonna try and put it in now and see what happens. But it is starting to, I think the next thing would be take the engine out and find out why, just try and put it all together. I can't even put it together without the gearbox on. Yeah, I'm going to try this bit and hopefully I'll work something out from as to what's where, but I can't see me being able to change anything anyway. Right, here goes. Right, I tried the that starter motor with the is it a pinion gear, push forward and it wouldn't even go in. So that's making me think. I can't see how it's not aligned. Now what I've got, this bolts onto the engine case to hold the flywheel while you torque up the flywheel bolts or whatever, and that fits in nicely there. That's good mesh with the teeth. Right, so with the E30 flywheel, these teeth should be the same distance apart, which they're not. Which makes me think that's an E36 flywheel. And this, it's quite hard to get them lined up, but these are closer together. I'll have to measure them, I think. I've got my verniers here, I'll have a look. And this flywheel, that's not going in, it doesn't mesh. So this flywheel is different to the one in the car. I have got, I'm not sure where that one's from. I'm not sure if that's E30 or E36. If I can measure the teeth and they're the same on this as they are on this starter, then I know this starter is the correct one for the flywheel. So I'll give that a go. Right, what I've done is, I'm pretty sure this alternator is an E36 one. But anyway, I've got it definitely looks like the teeth on the flywheel that's in this car are different to the teeth on the flywheel that's there. So I'm going to try, this starter motor has just come out of a 328i that was still on the engine, so I know that is an E36 starter motor. I've wired it up, I've just got to get, just in case, I'll be pleased if it does turn over, but I've just got to get a power feed to the ignition wire under the starter. No, that's exactly what it was doing before. I really can't get my head around this. I think I'm going to have to pull the engine out. I can't see what's gone, why it's not working. Unless it's a totally different flywheel from a totally different car that just doesn't mesh with this, but bolted on alright and the clutch bolted onto it. Right, I'll have to pull the engine out. I'll have to stick that flywheel on, and then fingers crossed, hopefully that'll work. It's a pain because I've bled the water system. It was a pain to get it in, so right, I've wasted so much time trying to get this sorted out that it's just doing my head in now, so I think I'd rather pull the engine out and then figure it out once the engine's out. Well, this is somewhere where I didn't want to be. Seems to be going backwards. Now this is the flywheel that was in there, which is not compatible with any of the starter motors. I've tried running the teeth around the flywheel teeth, and it's just not, they're not meshing at all. Whereas all 4 starter motors seem to mesh all right with that flywheel and that flywheel. All 4 starter motors have 9 teeth. That flywheel is off an E30, and that one looks the same as that one, but I was pretty sure that was off an E30. Now the clutch I've got, that's done 2 rallies, so that's still good as. That will fit that flywheel, but not these 2 flywheels. The clutch that's in this flywheel is well worn. I'm not putting that in. And the clutch I've got in there, the new clutch, is the same as that one. That will fit the flywheel, that doesn't fit the starter motors. So I've either got to work out what's going on with the starter motors, because that's definitely an E36 starter motor. It came out of the 328i. I was pretty sure that is an E30 starter that came off the engine that I got this flywheel and clutch off. So I'll have to do a bit of research. If it's a case of buying a new starter and putting that flywheel back in, because that's the lightest and it's got the best clutch, then I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll buy a new clutch. If I had a clutch, I could get it all back in and turning over, but I'm gonna go and have a look in the other garage, see if I've got a clutch. Otherwise, I can buy a new clutch for that. But if I'm buying a new clutch and waiting for that to turn up, I might as well buy a new starter. So let's go and see what clutches I've got. Right, that's the E30 Flywheel and clutch, worn out clutch. Well, I'm hoping it's not too worn out. I've got to get this back in. If I order a clutch, being in Jersey, it's probably going to take a week to get here, and I can't afford not to be working on it for a week or waiting for that. And I want to make sure that if I order a flywheel, not flywheel, a starter motor, I don't want to put it back together until I'm sure that the ring gear is right for the starter motor. Looks like I need a 10-tooth starter motor, and I've got one in the box somewhere, but it'll turn up one day, I'm sure. Anyway, fingers crossed. Hopefully this is gonna last. There's currently 15 people doing their bars test, so it's gonna have a full day of driving around, but there's still more coming, so it might have 2 full days. It'd be nice to have a good clutch in it, but let's put it back in again and see if we can get it fired up. I'm losing interest rapidly today. We've gone backwards rather than forwards, but hopefully that'll be the problem solved with the not turning over issue. I suppose the only good thing is I've managed to cut back this bit here was sticking out, and so was that bit there, so I've just cut it down a little bit because it was hitting the steering rack previously because it's so close. So hopefully now there'll be a bit more clearance. Well, that's in. It wasn't too bad. It looked quicker than the first time. This is trouble temporary. Oh, bit of a short there. Wow. All that. And now I've got a knackered clutch. Well, a warm clutch. Might be right. So I'll have to pull it all apart again. But that's me for today. The girlfriend's inside waiting for me, and yeah, I've been there all day. Got to go in now, cook me a nice roast. So chill out, watch a bit of telly. Right, so fingers crossed, then I should be able to start building it back up to where I was before, and then yeah, we can try and start it.